Okay, I'm going to get started, and I would really appreciate all my beloved CSULB students in journalism and public relations to turn your cameras on. Would love to see you. So anyway, welcome everyone to our second session of Internship Week. And this one's titled From Internships to Employment, Recent JPR Grad Success Stories. So I want to thank every one of you students who made time in your schedule to be here, and of course our distinguished panelists for taking their valuable time to be with us. I know you are going to share some wisdom with us, and we appreciate that. Every time I attend these things or listen to them, I learn a lot myself. So I will tell all of you what students are always telling me, and I think of our academic advisors too. They want their dream internship. And they also say, I can't find an internship. Or how do I turn that internship into a job? Or how do I turn that job into a career that's going to be lucrative and do, help provide for a family and a house and all those good things? So today we'll be asking our panelists some questions that you've given me, and you are our second panelist. You are our second panel of Internship Week, and you are our young professionals. So yesterday we had some seasoned professionals, and one I had when I taught when I first got here, which was 30 years ago. So they were out a little longer. You've been out pretty early compared to our panel from yesterday. So the questions I have for you are actually one students have given me that they want to know from young professionals who are more their contemporaries and who they can relate to and be inspired by a little bit more than, some of the older folks. And those students, all of you students, if you have questions, we'll do it at the end, and you can raise your hand. You go in and just with Zoom, you probably know how to raise your hand, or you can leave a question in the chat and Dan will be moderating it. And I think you all know Dan Olson, who is our technology coordinator. And for our panelists, you might not know Dr. Fleming. She became chair after I became chair. I was chair. So when Aaron and probably Elizabeth too, and BR, you were all, I was probably chair when you were undergrads. But anyway, so we're going to ask you a bunch of questions. So let me introduce our distinguished panelists who are young and doing so well in their career. First, we have Aaron Espinosa. You can see him right there, and you can kind of tell he's a gamer, can't you? He's a public relations class of 2016. He is a senior community manager at Insomniac Games. I met him in my 270 class. Do you remember Aaron? He was in the back of the class, and he had a hoodie on, he had sunglasses on, and but they were sunglasses. And
these turned sunglasses. So
and so I just asked to meet with him to get to know him a little better, because I didn't know him as well as some of the other students. And he later became one of my interns. And our department interns, NBR, by the way, was one of our interns too. They did more than social media. They did, you did a crazy, amazing job with the student success orientation, and all the raffles. And he was just a powerhouse. He really was. And he also took our social media from Facebook and LinkedIn and got and really expanded it to Instagram and everything. He was just amazing. And what impressed me about Aaron was that as an undergrad, he was also a gaming blogger. And I thought that was pretty interesting. So next we have Elizabeth Campos Fitch. Where are you, Elizabeth? There she is. She's the class of 2018, and she is digital editor at NBCUniversal. Now, Elizabeth is certainly one of our stars, and I brag about her. She interned at Telemundo. She also at NBCUniversal, and she got you guys one of the highly coveted, when she was a graduate reporting positions at the New York Times. And her story, I recall, was about really the high risk birth rates among African-American women and women who might not have been as supported with their health care. Really good piece of journalism. Now, BR, where's BR Yeo? Where is she? There she is in the white room. There she is. Woo! Okay, she's also a 2016 grad and was one of my interns at one time. Not in the they graduated at the same time, Aaron and BR, but they weren't interns at the same time. So she coordinated. She was the major mover and shaker for our journalism and public relations day that year. She was incredible. Her team was incredible. Her team all the way, and there were two other interns and they became good friends and are good friends to this day. Are you not?
Yes.
So you make a lot of friendships, by the way, as an undergrad. And she was interesting because she also got a second internship, this time at Sullivan and Sampson, who were two of our grads. Sullivan was one of my students, 30 years ago, started her own agency. She hired one of our other interns, Andrea Sampson, and then Andrea hired BR. It's all circle here. And now it's Sampson and Associates because now Barbara has retired. So she's done. And by the way, Sampson Associates is an agency specializing in healthcare, which is quite a lucrative area if you're interested. So let's start with each panelist telling us a little bit about themselves. For instance, students are interested in why you majored in public relations or journalism. Were you a transfer student? Were you involved as an undergrad in other activities on campus, in SPJ, PRSSA, other internships? How did you get started in the field? How did you keep climbing the ladder? Whatever you want to share with us. We'll start with that. So who wants to take it? Aaron, Elizabeth, or BR?
I suppose I can probably kick it off here a little bit. Yeah. So for me, God, my whole career path dates back to when I was a high school kid and maybe even beyond that. But I love video games. If you couldn't tell, big Ratchet and Clank fan. If you couldn't tell. Big Insomniac PlayStation guy, if you couldn't tell. But a lot of that stuff, yeah. And through that love of games, I at a young age I started writing for a bunch of blogs and doing freelance work for a few websites. Started my own and wrote a lot about games in high school and reported on things, events, E3, GDC, PAX, whatever you name it. And through that as a kid, I realized like, oh well, I'm kind of okay at this. So I guess I'll probably go to school for this. So I started off with journalism, of course, and then started to realize like a lot of my passions revolved around the actual like companies that I wrote about. I loved Insomniac. They've always been a dream company of mine I worked for. And we kind of connect the dots a little bit like, okay, well, the easiest way to maybe get into that is to probably go from journalism to PR. And that's really where I met Emma, Emmy, and everybody here. And yeah, I mean, over the course of time, it was just like building up those chops, learning PR, learning what to do, how to get into the industry. And my focus is always in gaming. It's always been my thing. And a lot of people probably focus on, general entertainment, or maybe as journalists, they focus on wanting to get a job at CNN or something, something like that. I don't know. But for me, gaming was always the goal. So I made sure to pursue that specifically. As far as like my involvement in school stuff. I mean, I interned with Emmy. I learned a lot about communication with students and communicating externally, internally, and it helped me a lot. So, I mean, that's really the extent of like my time at school. But I'll admit that I wish I made more, better time of it. And I suppose a lot of what I'll probably tell you today is like, don't necessarily like, take my lessons, but don't be like me, but also be better than me, be greater than me. And a lot of what I'll probably convey here today.
But now that we're still on you though, you also, because a lot of their questions are about internships and how to turn your internship in a job. But after you graduated, you made the move to go up north to another gaming, right? Did you not?
Yeah. Well, I mean, so it wasn't so immediate. After I graduated, I actually went into a different internship. I started an internship at BHI. It's a well-known public relations firm in Santa Monica. Did a lot of gaming stuff, a lot of entertainment stuff. I mean, they specialize in a variety of things, but gaming was kind of the big one for me. And then they liked me so much that they said, "Hey, we want you to work here." And I said, "Are you sure?" And then sure enough, they hired me. And then after that, I got hit up just by making really good connections and working with a lot of people in the industry. Someone at Deep Silver hit me up. His name is Will Powers, and he was like, "Hey, I heard you care about gaming, and would you want to move up north and work with me?" And sure enough, I mean, it was a big opportunity working at a big AAA publisher like Deep Silver, working on Metro Exodus, Saints Row, and Dead Island, and that kind of stuff. I mean, I couldn't possibly turn that down. So I did the thing that I'd never done before, and that's move away from home for the first time. And I was up there for 2 years. And then opportunities came along to come back home, and I did. So
Yep.
yeah.
To your dream job in your favorite town of Long Beach. So
Yeah.
which delights me, of course. Okay, who wants to go next?
I can go next.
Okay. Okay, BR.
So my name is BR. I graduated from Long Beach with a journalism degree, emphasis in PR. And unlike Aaron, I had no idea what I liked and what I wanted to do. So when I first came to Long Beach, I was a statistics major because I liked math. And I realized that wasn't for me. And so I changed to political science. And I didn't like that. So I changed to art. And I realized I didn't like that either. And so I actually went online and did a search for like surveys, like what major should I major in? And public relations popped up, and I had no idea what that was. And so I did some research and I realized, oh, this sounds kind of interesting. And so I spoke with a counselor and I realized, okay, maybe this is what I should study. And so I did. And that's how I got to where I am.
But then you went on, though, did you not?
I did. I really liked it. Mm-hmm.
Then you did our internship, and then you did another internship, right?
Yeah, I did the internship with you guys, with the JPR department, and I met some of my closest friends there. And then through you, Emmy, I actually met Barbara Sullivan when it was Sullivan and Associates. And then I got the internship there, and then that turned into Sullivan and Sampson with my colleague Andrea, which then turned into Sampson PR Group. And that's currently what it is now. So
hey,
it's a big circle. Yeah.
Do you like healthcare?
I do. I actually had no idea. I liked healthcare. I just went in because I was like, okay, this is, a good opportunity to get into the, to PR. And so I went into healthcare without knowing, what I would be doing. And I realized while I was there, this is really interesting. It's I work with, companies who could possibly save lives, things like that. So yeah, I really like it. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you. Elizabeth.
Hello. So first I want to apologize in case you hear barking. I have 2 dogs and my cat, and they're calm right now, but who knows if they decide to come join the meeting. Okay, so my name is Elizabeth. I go by Liz. I graduated 2018. I am a transfer student. After high school, I went to Harvard College in Wilmington, and then I transferred to Cal State Long Beach. I did go directly into the journalism department. I wasn't too sure exactly what I wanted to do with journalism, but I knew it was journalism. And I was heavily involved in a lot of things while at Cal State. I wrote for the 49er. I wrote for the union before it was 22 West Media. And then I got really involved with the National Association of Hispanic Journalists. I was a member and then a president, and then I graduated, but the club keeps going. So I'm really happy about that. And while I was, I think through the second half of my second year, I started getting more and more involved, and then I needed to get an internship, and it was really fun. I honestly did enjoy school. I'm one of the weird people in my group that actually enjoyed and missed school. yes, I was heavily involved with NAHJ, and then I tried to go to all the events I could. So I attended several job fairs, even though I probably wouldn't have been able to have a full-time job at the time. That's where I got my first internship from. So just networking, it was very, very helpful overall. Yeah, I don't know what else you want to know. I guess we'll answer more questions as we go.
In fact, I could start with the first question with you.
Okay.
Because you've had some very impressive internships, one at Telemundo, one at NBCUniversal, and then you went on as soon as you graduated and still considered a student internship at the New York Times. So I'm going to ask the three panelists, how did you find your internships? Because students want to know that from you. So I'll start with you, Liz.
Okay. So my first internship was with Telemundo, and that's the one that I found through a job fair that I attended somewhere in LA. And back then we were still printing out resumes. And so I took a bunch of copies of my resume and went to every booth possible at the job fair. Again, I knew I probably wasn't going to get hired. My only experience was, bylines with the Daily 49er, which are great, but I don't think that's what they were looking for. But I just figured I have nothing to lose. I'll just drop off my resume at every booth, because why not? And I went to the Telemundo one because I am bilingual, and I figured that's an asset I could, use. So I talked to some people and I said that I was willing to do any internships, and they said they didn't have anything at the time. So I kind of left the job fair pretty disappointed, but about a month after or so, I got a call from an NBCUniversal recruiter, and they said they had seen my resume and some internship positions had opened up. However, it was not a journalism internship. It was with Telemundo, but it was in the sales and marketing department, which I know nothing about, or I knew nothing of, and I wasn't necessarily as interested in that as, being in the newsroom, but I knew it would be a way for me to get into the company. So I took the internship, and it was very different. I enjoyed it because it was my first internship and, my first step into the NBCUniversal company, and I met a lot of people and I learned a lot. But it was also very confusing because I don't really know much about sales, and I tried my best to understand the best I could, but it was still very difficult. But I did learn some stuff, and my favorite aspect of that internship was I got to learn more about the Hispanic market and how TV stations kind of navigate through that and how they target those demographics. So that was very interesting. And so my bosses at the time with that internship knew that I wanted to go into news, not sales. So they actually gave me a chance every Friday to join the news crews out on the field. So every Friday I was able to go out in the field with the photographers and the reporters. And through that way, I made connections with the people in the newsroom. And then once my internship was about to be done, positions opened up for the newsroom internships. So they told me about the opening dates for applications, and then I applied. And then my second internship was with NBC, and it was in the newsroom. I interned I was shadowing one of the reporters in the early morning shift. So my reporter that I was shadowing was doing the early morning show, so the 4 a.m. shows. So my shift was from like 11 p.m. to 7 in the morning, something like that. So it was a sacrifice, but it was worth it. I learned a lot, and also because it was a very different shift, there wasn't a lot of people in the newsroom as the regular hours or a regular 9 to 5, even though news jobs are not a regular 9 to 5. I was odd hours at the newsroom. And so it was a very small team, and I was able to get to know mostly everyone and talk to everyone. And I was able to shadow reporters, shadow assignment desk editors, and just learned a little bit of everything. And then while I was still in school and still doing my NBCLA internship, I saw that the New York Times had applications for the New York Times Student Journalism Institute. And that was an application that I was so close not to apply to, because I didn't think the New York Times would pick me at all, because why would they? I said the dogs would come and join me.
That's okay. We're all dog lovers here. I have no, this is a great story of networking. So keep going. No, seriously.
Okay.
You didn't, and I think students can really relate to this, Liz, because you're saying, why me? Why would they pick me? I tell you, Liz, and I'll tell all of you, our students do not realize the power they have because they have such a refined skill set. You guys have taken, and I know you could get your dog in order, but let me tell everybody that honestly, you guys, you have taken so many classes, you don't know the skills that are under your belt and how much power that you actually have. So, okay. So you were telling us about the New York Times,
Yes.
and you didn't think why would they pick you? So
Yeah, no,
take
not
it
at
from
all.
there.
So I'm pretty sure at the time I was already heavily involved with NAHJ on campus, and I followed a bunch of previous alumni and members of NAHJ, as well as Facebook groups. And somewhere in one of those platforms, I saw the application for the New York Times Student Journalism Institute. And that one was at the time specifically for Black and Hispanic students. So it was only NAHJ and NABJ students. And I figured I'm really involved with our club on campus, and I do have some, good bylines under my belt. So why not? Also, I think a mindset that really, really helped me out during school was I have nothing to lose. It's either yes or no. They take me or they don't. And that's as far as that can go. So I figured, why not? I'm sure I'm not the only one that procrastinates with stuff. So I submitted my application like 2 minutes before the deadline. And I was so nervous. I was so nervous. I thought the work I submitted wasn't as promising as other people. I had read stories about the previous students in that program, and they were students from Columbia and other big name schools. I thought there's no way, but again, I have nothing to lose. It's either yes or no. And so I submitted it and kind of forced myself to forget about it a little bit. And then it was during finals, right around these same months, I was at my grandma's house and I got a phone call from the editor at the time saying that I had made it into the program.
See, that to me is very inspiring, because my students will say, I can't compete. I look at these big schools, but you can. And believe me, you can. You just don't and you did it at the last minute. You were I love how you're telling us your vulnerabilities and your weaknesses at the same time. You're telling us your strengths, because we all have them. And that's a great story. Thank you, Liz. Okay, wonderful. Okay, BR or Aaron, do you have anything? How did you find your internship or internships, or break into it like that? Anything you want to mention?
I can share an anecdote, I suppose. So as Emma outlined earlier, I was the kid who would sit in the back and not talk to a lot of people. So I had a lot of anxiety when it came to internships. Oh my God, working with people, like I don't want to do that. And then it kind of came time to, like, you had to get internships for certain courses. Like that was this requirement. I think you needed to graduate, right? And I actually waited way too long to get to that point. And so I was really anxious and nervous, and I didn't really know how to approach this. And so I actually hit up Emmy for some advice. And one of the things that she brought up was like, well, we have one here at the school, which was really helpful for me because, it was a starting point. And, it was a starting point at school on campus. It was a much simpler process than having to drive somewhere, having to meet people I don't already know. So like, the avenue that I took was ease yourself into the work, ease yourself into the environment of working with other people, with people that you already know. Like, we're all different. We all have different attitudes and different social capabilities. And so, my thing was finding something that I could adapt to that could just get me started. So, Emmy, said, come join us. I worked in the office there, a little tiny room with it was Christine and I forgot who else it was. I should know these names, but it's been so long. And so we all just kind of made campaigns and just had fun doing it. Like I would do a lot of graphics for the department, which was really fun because I was able to hone my craft and just using Photoshop and doing all that stuff. So we did flyers for like events, and it was just creativity where we could implement it for a campus department. And we had events where like Emmy talked about it earlier, where I forgot what room it was further down from the department.
It was called the Anatol Center. Yeah,
that's what it was.
Yeah.
And so we had people talk about their careers and all the fun stuff that you want to hear. What we're doing here today is kind of full circle here at this point. And yeah, like I learned a lot about the work environment while still being in a place of comfort. I think that was really crucial because it helped me prepare for the next year, which was going to be working with teams to make campaigns and to actually go out into the field. And so the following year or the following semester, I felt a little more comfortable trying to go find something else. And I found something. And then I decided last second that maybe it wasn't for me, which is another lesson is like, sometimes you could be picky with where you want to go. Just don't take anything because you have to. I mean, it's nice to do it because, you get some experience, but, like find something that's comfortable for you and something that works for you. I think that's really, really important. And I think the place that I was going to apply to was it was like for like a pet shelter or something like that. And I love animals. I have several dogs, and my dog Drake is the light of my life. And, but there was something about it that like, something about pet shelters, just the reality of it, just, it broke my heart to maybe be a part of that. So I didn't want to. So I waited, and eventually toward my senior year, toward the end of that, I started to feel the pressure of like, okay, what are you going to do after college is over? Like, where are you going to go? You have so many passions and so many things you want to do. You want to work in games, but you haven't really done much to like prove yourself beyond like an actual real workforce. So like the pressure was on, and I actually didn't get an internship until after I'd like literally the week that I graduated is when I got my gaming internship at BHI. And I share this story not because I want to emphasize that like get ahead of it, don't stress like I did. I was really afraid. It was make or break for me. To find something that can prove myself with, and to get ahead of it beyond just the campus internship was really, really, really important. And I would not want that pressure for anybody. I know I have a lot of friends who never took advantage of internships who now just regret it. I certainly regret not doing that stuff sooner, because like later in life, like in the past 5 years since I've left campus, I've realized the value of those things. And like, it's funny, companies, like, especially if you're trying to get into gaming, and like, they will look at your past history and they want to make sure that you've been in the force. So you've been out in the workforce, that you've done stuff. And it's funny, like for the most part, they don't necessarily care, like they care, but they don't necessarily like care about what it is exactly, as long as you've been out there, because a lot of inspiration that comes from things that I've made in the past with campaigns and whatnot comes from experience that I've had working on things that were unrelated to gaming. Like, like I said, I wrote a lot about games, but also covered some stuff while I was at school. I did some, like, I forgot the campaign it was, but it was one of the classes you have to do like you have to work with the company, like a local business, and then you have to like make a mock campaign for them, and then they have to go see it. So I did something for like it was some apps on like Mac store down in Seal Beach, and I did that. and like knowing that technology, being able to talk to that company and know about computers and stuff like that was always it came in handy for future campaigns of like knowing PC hardware and whatnot. So and how to like market to a PC gaming audience, for instance, like that stuff really helps. But yeah, I mean, my internship experience was very limited, and it was a big detriment. It was a lot of pressure. So my advice to you is like, I know that these things are hard, especially when it comes to people who might have some social anxiety. So try to find something that really eases you into it, and eventually, like you will feel more comfortable by the time you finish it, especially if you do something that's on campus. And then also like don't leave it to the last minute like I did, because if I did not get that game internship, and I got it by a thread, the only reason I got it was because they said, hey Aaron, like you're really into games, and this other person we interviewed was just a little less into games. Had they got the internship before I did, I don't think I'd be here where I'm at right now. And through that internship, through my time at BHI, I met some of the best friends that I have now. I can name them, Jamie, Francois, and a bunch of other people that I've met over there. Like they made my career, and they helped me get to BHI from Deep Silver to other agencies to where I'm at Insomniac. Like for the Insomniac job, for instance, I hit up Jamie again. She's one of my best friends ever, and she helped me do the resume, cover letter, like. And she was experienced in this field. She knew what needed to be done to get here, and sure enough, here I am right now. So, yeah, I mean that's the lesson I'll impart to you is don't be like me. Try to get as much experience as you can now, because that pressure, man, it sucks if you're down to the wire and you don't have anything. It super sucks. And so, I just encourage you to at least look for things, get experience where you can. If it's at a local shop, just nearby, just do it. If it's on campus, it's easy for you. Just give it a shot. Just do it. But of course, like, think about where you're comfortable. If you don't want to work at a place that's going to make you sad, don't do that either. But definitely try to find something that works for you.
Wonderful advice. And by the way, for all of you students, we have internships on campus. There's a couple different ones in athletics, one in media relations where you work with teams, another one promoting events in athletics. We've got them in the department. We've got them really all over the place on campus. So there are quite a few. If you just look or talk to me, talk to other professors. 22 West also has some internships as well. So there's a lot of different things that you can ease in. I will also, Aaron talked about a course, that the campaigns course, that's a journalism 471, that's called campaigns. For a lot of courses in public relations, you do service learning, you actually exercises where you work with real companies. That use that as your experience, put that on your resume, make sure you have those materials in your portfolio. They're just as valuable. Also, when Elizabeth was talking, I don't know if everyone knows what NAHJ means. That's the National Association of Hispanic Journalists. And she also mentioned NABJ, the National Association of Black Journalists. And we have student chapters on both NAHJ, NAHJ, NABJ, SPJ, Society of Professional Journalists, and the Public Relations Student Society of America. So we have 4 different organizations, and you can join all of them if you want, and network and listen to speakers and all of that good stuff. So I wanted to mention that. So BR, do you have anything you'd like to share with us on how did you find your internship, on anything like that, or internships in your case?
Yeah, so my first internship was with the JPR, and I actually like Aaron, I had to find an internship, and I was kind of, scouting around for, opportunities. And I heard that there was an internship on campus in the department. And so I think I printed out my resume and cover letter. That's when it was printed out. And I remember walking into your office, Emmy, and I was like, I know you guys have interns and I want to intern next semester. And I think we chatted for a little bit, and then you offered me the position at the end of our conversation. So that's how I got my first internship. And then my second internship was with Sullivan and Associates. And like I mentioned before, that was also referred by you, Emmy. And I remember calling the agency and saying, Dr. Emma, or Emmy, referred me, and I would like to know if you're offering positions. And they said no, but that if you referred me, then I must be great. So we set up a meeting, and I took in my resume, cover letter, and they called me back, and that's how I got my internship there, which turned into a job. And so I guess the moral of my story is you have to make connections. It's really all by word of mouth, and who you know is very important.
Good. That's so true. In fact, I will emphasize to all of the students here that you want to network. And first of all, you network with each other as well. I know that Aaron has friends, and probably Liz, and I know BR does, who have friends, and they give each other jobs. They pretty much, that's pretty much how it happens. You may have a position open at your organization, and you invite your friend over, and and sometimes your friend goes up the ladder, you go someplace else, and then your friend brings you in, who's now your boss. That I have all those stories from our grads. But don't forget about not only your peers, but also our alumni are more than willing to you can do information interviews and contact them. I bet our panelists would probably give you some Zoom time or meet you for coffee or something if they could, or at least talk to you in a conversation on the phone or through Zoom or email or whatever. Also, don't forget your professors, because BR talked to me, or I talked to her, but I bet Liz, I don't know if Teresa Puente was here when you were here, but Barbara Kingsley, Wilson, Gary Metzger, we all have contacts. We all know the industry really well. And some of us have been around a long time. Gary and I'm actually younger than Gary. Don't tell anybody that. But anyway, we've been around for a long time, and we have a lot of contacts, and we have a lot of alumni. So use them as well. So the next question, they really want you to answer this one. Okay, so you've applied for an internship you really want, but never heard back. Okay. Or maybe you've applied to a lot that you want and never heard back. What do you do next?
I suppose, I think I have a story with this one. I think you might remember this one more than anything else, but it all comes down full circle, man. So the one internship I wanted more than anything in the world was one for Insomniac games, and it's for the job I have right now. And I remember the internship that came up for me at Insomniac was a community role, and it was a once in a lifetime shot. They never have this position, and now looking internally, I see why they don't. It's just we're a tight ship. We're on a tight ship here, and we don't really just look for more people. But yeah, I remember that popped up on the Insomniac website, and I remember just like panicking, just being like, oh man, I want to get this. Like I desperately want it. It's my dream job. I wanted it since I was a kid. Since Spyro the Dragon, like hell yeah, like let's work at Insomniac Games. So I didn't know how to do this. And so I was like, how do I even apply? How do I write a cover letter? How do I do any of this? Like I went to Emmy like the next day, and I was just like, hey, I need your help. How do I do this? And so Emmy kind of walked me through the steps of like, hey, here's write a cover letter, put portfolios together, things that you've written, like get a nice collection of things that you could prove to them what you've done. And so I did that, and then I looked at the requirements, and I realized like what they needed, what they wanted, and they wanted stuff with like Photoshop skills. They wanted stuff with video editing and all that stuff, which I unfortunately never. I have experience with that stuff. But I never saved my stuff, and that was a really big one. Is like, and that's important for later. So anyway, I did the whole thing. I got it all together. I submitted it. I felt pretty good. Nervous, still pretty good. And I didn't get it. And that broke my heart. That really did break my heart. And I remember like feeling like that was my one shot, man. That was my one shot to do this. And I'm never going to get Insomniac. I'm never going to work there. Like I've wanted that since I was a kid, and it's just not going to happen. But I decided to just kind of like figure out like what what do I do next? Like, so what I did was I hit up Carrie, who was the hiring manager here at the time, or it still is. And I asked her, like, why didn't I get it? Like it was more professional than that. I was kind of like, hey, Carrie, just I saw that the spot was taken. I didn't hear back, but like, can you tell me why, potentially what I was missing? And what I was missing was what I told you. And it was having saved all my stuff, my video editing stuff from high school, some of my writing, articles that I've written. I'd never saved those. And some of those, like I said, I was writing since I was a kid. So a lot of those articles, just when a site was defunct or went away, so did those stories. I didn't think they were important, but they really were. And the other part was like Photoshop things that I did, video editing that I did, like YouTube videos that I've done in the past. And, they wanted to see that stuff and that was never saved. And I just didn't have it. And they told me, like, you just kind of came up short here. We wanted somebody who has a little more media creation experience, content creation experience. And someone else kind of showed it a little bit more than you did. So what I did after that, of course, is like, I found ways to build up those skills and to save those things. Like I recreationally did YouTube videos. I recreationally created like graphics for things that I love, like Sunset Overdrive at the time was coming out, which is a big game from Insomniac on Xbox. It did a lot of like cool fan content, and like that's important. That stuff is important because it got the recognition of James Stevenson at the studio, and that's when it became like a fan that they knew about. I was always a fan, and I always went to the events, but like they have lots of fans around the world. They have millions of them. The reason I stood out was because I focused on things that they wanted to see and that they wanted to focus on. And soon enough, James Stevenson followed me on all my social channels, Twitter, Instagram. He friended me on Facebook. Like he saw stuff I was creating over time. And again, I think at that point, I mean, I was a sophomore in college, and between sophomore and college and between this year, James saw me develop over the course of time, because the goal was to make sure that he was able to see my skills over the course of me trying to get to Insomniac. But just because I didn't get that internship doesn't mean I gave up, obviously. But I explored other avenues. I explored freelance work. I explored whatever. But internship at other places, I try to find. Did one with you guys, and it was really fruitful, and it helped me out a lot. BHI helped me out a lot. I kept my sight on the goal, but I knew that I had to take additional measures to like show my skill over the course of time, and that's what I did. So
that's wonderful. If any of you attended yesterday's session, I'm talking to the students, they talked about finding a niche. Find a niche, find where a company has a need. And it sounds like you also did that for Insomniac. You found a need they needed. And that was really emphasized by Robert Meeks of the LA Times yesterday. A lot of need in digital. He saw that in the future of media. And so that's interesting. Also, you guys, if any of you are in my internship class, and some of you are, I see your names here. I'm always saying to them, you won't get credit unless I see the work you produced, because that work is going in your portfolio. You need to save that work. And you emphasize that you need to save all of your work, all of your best pieces, your diversity of the work you can do.
And here's the thing I want to impart to people as well. It's like, I don't want to degrade the value of college work or anything. But like sometimes when you guys do a project as a class, right? Things that you've done, you're sharing this, one project to the next might be the same. Like if you all have the same prompt to do a PR campaign for some charity, right? Like that's all going to be common and safe. So what you need to do, I think, is show how your campaign stands out among the others. Right. So if you have a portfolio, how does your portfolio look different than the portfolio from this other group in the same class? You know what I mean? Like make that, diversify that. What stands out? And for me, my niche was always games. I don't think a lot of people in my classes ever did games, and I remember doing oral presentations and talking about Konami and the breakup between Hideo Kojima and Konami. And that was just a weird off the wall idea, but it caught the attention of everybody in the class, and it worked. And I was able to use that to show like where my path was in my career. And so through the internship at CSLB, journalism and public relations was like a lot of my niche for even for a freaking journalism department thing was like how can I make it like tech related, and how can I make it seem like fun and like thematic to games? Like I wanted to put my passion into that, and so that's how I made myself stand out, is like find those things that make you personable, that bring out the personality in your work, no matter what you do, whether it's internship or group project or whatever. Like do that because it helps.
Oh, very good. What about Liz and BR? Do you have anything to add to that, or points you'd like to make?
Yeah, so actually this is a very good segue into, I think, what I've found. I think I messed up slightly in not finding a niche for myself, because actually, and I actually met with Barb Kingsley not too long ago for lunch. So
Oh, good.
Dear professors. But like at this point in my career, I've been doing great, but I think I've plateaued a bit. I've been doing digital editing for about 3 years now, counting my last year in school and the 2 years since I graduated. So I'm at the point now where I feel like I need to do something else. And I was talking about that with Barb, and we were just talking about, niche, and, if there's anything I could specialize on, or, I'm no longer reporting, so I don't really have a beat necessarily. But I think what Aaron is saying is really important, because like I did so much of everything, but at this point right now, it would have been helpful if I had most of my work focused in one thing. What I've done in my career is not bad by any means, but I think it definitely would have helped if, say, I had my personal blog and I put in there all my articles related to one beat, or design or video. I did a little bit of design, I did a little bit of video, I did a little bit of podcasting, but I never focused on one single thing. I did mostly reporting, but I was so open to everything, which is great. But again, if I had focused on one single beat or topic, I think that would have been really helpful for me to now transition from digital editing into reporting. So when I was in school, I remember for the 49er, I did a lot of like immigration reporting, and I did focus a lot on communities of color, which is great, but I should have saved it and kind of milked it in a way, if that makes any sense.
It does.
I did really good while I was in school, and I'm really proud of what I've done after graduation. But I do see now that I should have, saved my work, or kind of have my own blog, my own page, or post on my social platforms, the work that I did, or find a passion project just because, and do my own designs, my own videos, just for fun, just for a passion, and that could eventually, lead into something else. So that's something that I think I wish I would have done. I wish I would have focused more on. But yeah, I mean, that's one thing that I think Aaron has a really good point. I think that's something that we should all try to find. We focus so much on grades and completing certain projects, and that's all great and good, but what happens once you're done with school? So that's why like your own projects as well as connections go so far. And so that's the aspect of, kind of having your own projects and passions. And then as far as connections and networking, like I said, I met with Barb not too long ago. And then a few minutes ago, I was talking to Gary and Teresa Puente. She started at Long Beach, I want to say my last year, but because she became the NAHJ advisor, I formed a really good relationship with her. And I still do talk to a lot of people from when I was in school. And it sounds really cliche, but it is, who you talk to, who it goes a long way. And for those with, social anxiety, or that are like very shy people, it's hard. It's very difficult. I wasn't too shy while in school, but once I hit the real world, once I was in real newsrooms and, this corporate meetings and whatnot, I was actually really shy. And till this day, I think about, I should have talked more in my internship, or I should have reached out to this person. I should have done this. I should have done that. And even a couple of years ago, I had my holiday party at NBC Bay Area, and I was able to take a +1. I took my partner, and I realized that, I wasn't able to introduced him to a lot of people, and it just made me think like I should really talk to more people because you don't really know. And now with COVID, like I talk to mostly everyone, but just through an email or a camera, so it really does go a long way to make connections, even with a hey, how are you, or a follow-up email, which leads to what to do when you don't hear back from an internship you really wanted. I'm sure you've heard that follow-up emails are really important. They are. You don't want to do it to a point where you're emailing the person every day or every week, right? But it does show your interest. Like Aaron said, okay, I didn't get certain position. I appreciate your time, whatever, but do you have any feedback for me? That really does go a long way, because that helps them remember you. And then later on, they can still think, like, hey, that one person that applied, or like I gave Telemundo my resume for internships at the time that they had no internships, but they called back, right? And then I do have a failure story. I applied so many times to the LA Times because it's the LA Times, right? And I've applied a total of maybe 5 times, counting while I was still a student and now as a professional, and I have yet to hear back from them. But I think the 3rd time that I applied for the LA Times for, I think it was their MetPro program, which is like a fellowship internship that they have. I missed the deadline because once again, I was procrastinating, and I thought I had done it right on time before the deadline closed at midnight, and I didn't. Once I tried to submit, I couldn't do it because I missed my deadline, and that was totally my fault. And I was devastated. Like Aaron said, I thought that was like my one chance. What am I going to do? It's my last year in school. If I don't get this, what am I ever going to get? There's no way I'm going to get any other internship. And my world had ended at that point. And I was just feeling so bad. But it sounds cliche, but it all happens for a reason, and things fall into place however they need to fall into place for you. Because I didn't get the LA Times one, but then months after I got the New York Times fellowship. So,
which is better, I'm sorry to say. I mean, that's and you got to go to New York and all that great stuff. So hey, your key messages are very similar to what we heard yesterday, but a little different. You guys say don't give up. Don't be offended if you get no. Get feedback, which is both of you have said, get feedback. And yesterday they emphasized sending thank you notes to, even if you didn't get the internship or after an interview, say thank you, BR, did you want to add anything about that to this?
Yeah, just a quick note. I'd recommend, like Elizabeth mentioned, connecting with the hiring people, get on their radar, whoever you need to, connect with, do that. Start a conversation, connect with them on LinkedIn, ask them, for advice, ask them to look at your resume. Doesn't hurt.
Yeah. And I have to say too, for everyone here, we have the Career Development Center, which is open even during the winter break. And you can schedule in-person appointments with them or even Zoom appointments. And they have a lot of materials online on how to write cover letters and resumes. So, and they're career specialists. So use that. It's all free for you as a student. Dan, do you have any questions that have come in from the students? Any hands up or in the chat?
I've got one, and I think it's a really interesting one. And this one, I think everybody can answer, but Emmy, you might be best to answer it. But it was from Joseph Fan, and he asked whether or not students should obtain internships outside of just Journalism 498.
Oh my gosh. Oh, yes, definitely. And I think our panelists can tell you they've done multiple internships. Although you guys, I will tell you something that you probably don't know is that at the time you were here, 498 was required, which is the internship class. But now students can take it from more than once. I don't know if that was the case with you guys. So they could take it, they have to take it for credit, but they can take it again if they choose to do so as an elective. So they can actually take it twice. And frankly, I personally recommend that you start doing internships when you're a freshman. For instance, there are internships that are for freshmen and sophomores that just give you exposure to the field, you guys. That's all they do. You might be doing clerical work, administrative work. You might be doing clip books. You might be doing calendar listings if you're in the, for a news organization. You might be doing clips if you're in public relations. But when you're a junior and senior, you want to do internships where you do skill development, where you'll be writing, you'll be producing things, you'll be creating things that will go into your portfolio. You do not want to waste your time. You guys, your time is too valuable, and you will regret spending your time as a junior and senior in internships that just give you exposure to the field, because we've already done that for you. So, and besides, that won't qualify for 498 credits. Got to be real skills, hands-on stuff that you're creating that will go into your portfolio. But yes, I'd like you to do 3 before you graduate. If you're in public relations, I like you to do 1 in nonprofit, 1 at an agency, and 1 in a profit-making institution like a corporation. And if you're in news, I wouldn't mind you doing, if you're in journalism, doing maybe a small regional paper, and then maybe going for the LA Times or maybe doing 1 in broadcast, or even 1 in radio news. So there's a lot of different, or doing podcasting, or some 3 different ones, just to get exposure. Good question.
Okay, we have another question. Is it difficult to maintain your regular job while having an internship at the same time? So basically, keeping your life running, working, doing an internship, and doing school. How is that work-life internship balance managed?
Liz, did you look, or Aaron, BR, how did you do that? Because you all were really, gosh, Liz, you were president of NAHJ, you were doing internships, you wrote for the Daily 49er. And I know some of you, sure, no worries. And I know most of you worked too, where you had to get a job and get paid so that you could get gas for your car and other things. So do you have any comments about how you juggled it all?
Yeah, I don't know. I did have a part-time job as a waitress, and I was a full-time student, and I had an AHJ and my internships. Luckily, I don't know if this still happens, I hope not, but luckily my internships were paid. And I had my part-time job, and I received tips as a waitress. So financially, I was very lucky to be okay. But it was a lot. It was a lot, and I'm not necessarily a night owl, so I'm not sure how I got through, finals and assignments and everything. But it was really tough. It was a weird balance, but I think I'm a person that thrives on fast pace. But I was just telling Barb when I met with her not too long ago that a friend would constantly ask me, how do I manage to do all of that? And then Barb laughed because she said, yeah, I don't know how you did it. You were involved in everything at the same time. But I think, it's just really time management and making sure that on your days off, you get your whatever you need to get done. School does come first. I was always very transparent with my bosses at the restaurants that I worked, that I needed certain days, I needed certain times, and they wouldn't really give me, late shifts because they knew I was a student. So I was really lucky in that aspect too. But just, time management, make sure that you do you block out certain times of your days and weeks to get your schoolwork done. And sometimes during my internships, if I had a little bit of downtime, I would do schoolwork then as well. But yes, it is a sacrifice. It is a sacrifice for sure, because you're on the clock at every minute of the day if you want to get everything done. But it's doable. It's definitely doable. Lots of coffee and just support from your peers and your friends helps a lot too. I think it does help if you have a few friends that are kind of on the same track as you, because you have each other for moral support. So if you really want to, you'll make it work. It's totally doable.
What about you, Aaron, BR? Do you have any tips how you managed it all?
I I would just say real quick about that is I was in a spot where I didn't really have like a job per se, like a formal job at the time that I did either internship. So I can't really speak to that, but I will say around the time when I got the internship with BHI, because it was an entertainment group and I was also still writing for a few websites, I actually, to avoid conflict of interest, I actually backed out from journalism at that point completely, and just focused on the internship and then picked writing back up sometime after for a little while. And then I realized I didn't realize, but they offered me a job about a week after my internship. So it was like a week long stint where I came back to journalism for a bit. And then when I got the job, I just completely focused on that and not my writing stuff anymore.
BR, how did you balance it all?
So when I had my internship with Sullivan and Associates, fortunately I was paid, and I was also part-time tutoring, and I was also serving at my local church, which required me to be there, I think 2 to 3 times a week. And then that's when I also got married and moved. And so it was just a big balance of time. And when it got really hard, I would just tell myself, you have to do what you have to do. So I think that's what got me through it.
Great. Any other questions?
I've got one, and this one is to every one of our panelists. So it kind of came up that Elizabeth started in sales. Aaron got a lot out of campaigns. BR is now doing healthcare. Okay, those may or may not have been your passions. So do you follow your passion or do you find your passion in what you do? And that's kind of an open question for our panelists here.
I think for me, I found my passion because I had no idea what it was before. And healthcare was just the first thing that I went into, and I realized that I really liked it and I love it. So that's why I stayed.
Great.
Yeah, I followed mine. I knew gaming was where I wanted to be. I knew exactly what I needed to do to get into it. And I knew exactly what I needed to do to get into it because I researched a lot of how to get into, sorry to back up. I knew I wanted to get in PR with the specifics in gaming. I don't know, the gaming part, like the connecting PR to gaming part was always a bit tough. And just ironically, because I wrote for a bunch of websites and I did freelance work and journalism work, so I should know PR people. Well, I knew enough, but I made one really strong connection that provided me just a lot of information on how to get into the gaming PR very specifically and what to show when you're creating a portfolio and creating your, showing your niche, as we talked about earlier. So that's how I was able to kind of like slowly edge the wall into the gaming PR specifically, was by showing that niche. So I followed mine.
Great. Liz, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I think both are true, depending on how you navigate your own decisions. Full transparency, I am actually, I think, on the opposite end of when I was in school. Like I said, I was very active and involved in a lot of things, and I was very lucky to go to the places that I went. But now, when I was in school, I was reporting a lot, and I was heavily involved in community reporting and local reporting, and it was very hyper local and very much geared towards like social justice and, communities of color and, interviews, man on the street, and having this like real connection with people, which I loved, still love. But then after school, my internships took me into this digital editing world, which is great. And I've learned to love breaking news, and I've developed skills that school didn't necessarily give me because it's different things that we learn, right? Like I learned from school and I learned from the real world, but now I really, 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 really miss reporting and man on the street and that, connection that I used to build with people back then. And that's why I feel like I've plateaued. So I think to me, I started really, really high, following my passion and finding more things that I'm passionate about. And now I feel like I'm lacking a lot of that. So I feel like, I'm really, hungry and thirsty for a lot more of what I had back then. So I do think there's a point in our careers where you realize whether what you like and what you don't like, even within the same field. So I love my job. I'm really happy to have it. I'm working with an amazing company, but it no longer feels like I'm actually fulfilling that passion.
Yeah. You've been out, what, 3 years,
Mhm.
right? So actually, this is about the time that you really haven't wasted any time at all. You just now know, I think, in the normal progression of a career, that you've done all these different things. Now you know what your passion is, and that's what you want to get back to. So you sound a little hard on yourself, and you shouldn't be, because this is a normal progression in a career, I think. And Aaron, well, I know Aaron, his passion was always gaming. BR, though, she founded probably around the time you did, oh, BR's gone. But anyway, that's normal. They've been out a couple more years than you. So, but anyway, you guys have done a wonderful job. By the way, I don't know where BR is. Where is she, Dan? Did she just accidentally? I think she was having a little internet thing anyway. I noticed, but here she is. Woo! She's back. Yay. Actually, I want to keep everyone on schedule, and it's about 10 after, and I promised to let you go at 12:15. And I know you are very busy, even though you might seem like you're, at home working, or maybe you're at wherever you are. But you guys did a great job. I can't thank you enough. You are our star students, and we are, not students, you're grads now, but I can't thank you enough for sharing your wisdom with everyone. And also all the students who are here, we appreciate you coming. And I don't want any of you to tell me you don't know how to get an internship. You can't get an internship. You're lost. You shouldn't be now. So very good. Anything else you want to add, Dr. Fleming? Dan, you want to add anything?
Thank you. That was wonderful.
Yeah.
Anytime.
Anything you want to add before we go, panelists?
Yeah. For me, I really think that distilling a lot of advice such as this is really hard in an hour. I mean, I know all three of us have many stories to share, and even now I feel like I haven't shared a lot with here. So if anyone here has further questions, I mean, you can always find me on social media, or just hit me up, email me. If you want to find me, it's the Agents of Doom on all my social networks. And feel free to ask me questions. And I hope that wherever you guys go next in your careers, that you guys find something that works for you, and make sure to find something that does work for you. And again, no matter where you are in your comfortability level, definitely find things that will appeal to who you are, and that will work with you. I think don't just settle just for things. Find things that work for you too. Like you're a valuable person, and you deserve to find something that a company that you like, and a company that likes you. So make sure you find those things too.
Wonderful. Any closing thoughts, BR or Liz? No.
I just I sent out my email on the chat. If anyone wants to reach out, feel free. I know the holidays are coming, so you and I will be all over the place, but I check my email if you have any questions. Like Aaron said, I think we all had many more stories and experiences that we could have shared, but it's very hard to do so in an hour. But yeah, feel free to reach out if you want to.
Great. BR?
Same. If you guys have any questions, if you want me to look at your resumes, offer feedback, you can email me. I think one thing is just always be kind. In the industry, everyone's connected somehow, and everyone talks. So even if you want to send me an email, don't. Always be kind.
Boy,
that's that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's an interesting point. I've never realized that, but they definitely said that yesterday too. Be kind. I think everybody should be kind. What's going on? But evidently they aren't, because they mentioned it too. But you guys are great. And by the way, students, you have just been offered just the gold nugget here by 3 professionals saying, network with me. I'm here for you. That you guys are awesome. Thank you so much, everybody. Really appreciate it. Dan, thank you for your help too, Dr. Fleming, and everybody, and Professor Metzger. Thank you for bringing your class here today. All right. Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
I'll stay on if anybody wants to talk, but all right. Thank you.